Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode on how to get the best out of Claude Code. In today's video, I'll be... One second. So it seems that I've just gotten a notification from Claude that it needs my permission before it's going to be able to edit a file. So I'm going to do that right now. Claude actually needs me to approve this plan that we have here. So I'm just going to do this, and let me just hop back to where I was earlier. Now...
Work has concluded, sir.
I've got a notification on my desktop, and I was also told by my voice assistant that it was ready. And true enough, if you head back into Claude Code right now, you can see that the task has been completed. Great. I don't know about you, but this happens to me a lot. I leave Claude Code running in the background, and then oftentimes I'm doing something else, and then I come back a couple of minutes later hoping that the task is completed, only to realize that it got stuck asking for permission. And yes, you can use dangerously skip permissions, or you can add a lot of these commands into your settings file. But what about things like approving plans, or simply letting you know that Claude is now done with the task that you gave it? So in today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how you can make use of Claude Code's hook system so that you will be able to get notifications both on your desktop via audio, as well as on your phone via push notifications as Claude is running through your tasks. I think it's not only a very fun use case, but it's actually a very useful way to actually understand how the hook system works within Claude Code. Now, I also wanted to mention that everything you see in today's video, including the source code, the audio files, the configuration files, as well as the lesson plans are all available, and you can access it in the description below. I've created a Claude Code builder pack, and this contains everything that you see in today's video, as well as all my previous videos together as well. It's all in one place. You don't have to worry about any GitHub access, and you'll be able to get off and running and integrating everything that you see into your projects right away. And without further ado, let me demonstrate more capabilities of this system today. Alright, so let's get started with today's demonstration. I actually have a demo app over here, which you can see running on the sidebar. This is just a sample React app with an existing code base so that we have something to run Claude Code against. So let's start off with study the folder in, and I'm going to do apps, video idea board, and let's get started.
Reading README documentation.
And as you can see, that's already the first notification that's come through from the voice system. It basically has been able to see that it's a README documentation file over there.
Work has concluded, sir.
And when the work was completed, I received a notification on my computer, and actually this notification has similarly shown up on my phone as well. Now let's actually step back a bit here to see what has happened. So what you see here is that whenever Claude performs an action, a hook event is actually fired for us to be able to handle. If it matches something within our configuration file, it actually allows us to perform a custom command. So in this case, it plays a notification message where Alfred tells us that it's reading a file. And one thing to quickly highlight here is that you've seen two systems at work. First of all, you heard the voice notification system, in which it was able to map these actions into something that plays like audio. But then you also saw the other notification system here, where I actually received a desktop notification on my computer as well as on my phone. And the architecture for this system is actually very similar. So once you've done one, it's very easy to extend towards building another kind of system. Now, the other thing to point out here is that if you were paying attention, as you will see subsequently, it not only is able to say, oh, I'm reading a file, but it's able to get context around what kind of file is being read, which is why it actually mentioned that it was reading a README file. Okay, so let's actually try the next thing now. I'm going to say that I don't like how the cards look, so let's try to add a nice gradient towards it. And I'm going to make sure that I'm in plan mode, so Shift Tab, so that it actually thinks about what it needs to do, and then it will give me a plan. So let's just drag this up here a little bit. And so now it's going to think about what
I've begun the task, sir. I need your permission to proceed.
All right, and now you've seen something different, right? You've seen this notification here as well as the voice notification saying that it needs permission. And the reason for that is that there is actually a prompt from Claude itself in which I need to make a decision about whether this plan is something that I want it to do. So it's going to add gradients to it, and then it's going to have to update several other TypeScript and TSX files. And so I'm going to say yes and auto accept edits. And this was just to demonstrate that the hooks has allowed us to catch different types of events and handle them differently. Previously, it was just going to play a sound. This time it's actually going to play a different kind of message, asking me a question that I actually need to take action.
Beginning TypeScript modifications.
And as you hear now, it says that because it's a TypeScript file, it's saying it's going to begin the TypeScript
Updating the to-do list, sir.
And now it's going to update the to-do list because it is now performing a different kind of event over here.
Beginning TypeScript modifications.
And here we go. It's doing the TypeScript modifications this time.
Updating the to-do list, sir.
And then it's updating the to-do list.
Code modified, sir.
Now it's saying it's finished the code update that you needed to do.
Updating the to-do list, sir.
And it's updating the to-do list once again.
Task completed, sir.
And there you have it. The task is completed and we get a notification here. And I'm going to check my phone very quickly. If I pull this up, I can see all of the notifications coming onto my phone as well. And so this is what we'll be showing you today, how the hook system can be used to do something as simple as voice and push notifications. Now, using a notification system may not be the most complex or interesting case. It is pretty fun, but the main thing is that it gives you a good idea of how you actually handle and deal with hooks within the Claude Code ecosystem. And with that understanding and knowledge, you can then extend it to do other things like type checking and pre-edit hooks and anything else that will help accelerate and make your workflow better. All right, so now let's dive into this in a little bit more detail so that you can see how I got all of this set up. Everything you see in today's video has been made available and you can access it in the links in the description below. And this includes several things. It includes the demo app that you see right over here, so you have something to play around with. And it includes the push notification system, as well as the voice activation system. I've also included full lesson plan and write-up that you see over here. It has the entire lesson plan, but more importantly, it also includes diagrams such as this hook event flow, this architecture diagram that we have over here, as well as the diagram showing how the context-aware system works. You can access everything within the Insiders Club, and you can gain access to the GitHub repository containing this. But if you would like to skip all of that and just get everything related to this project file in one nice, I'll highly recommend getting my Claude Code build pack, which is available in the description below. It not only includes everything for today's tutorial, but all of my previous tutorials as well, including code, configuration files, custom commands, and cursor rules as well. And it's all nicely bundled up into a single pack so that you can easily get hold of it and then extract it out into your project, and everything will be ready to go. All right, without further ado, let's dive right back in. All right, guys. Okay, so for today's tutorial, it's going to be slightly different. And the reason for that is that we won't spend as much time looking at the code because the code itself is not super interesting. And you can easily generate the code, by using Claude itself. But I think the main thing to understand here is really around what Claude hooks are and thinking about the architecture in which you can utilize these hooks for the purposes that you are looking for. What we will be covering is how you can use Claude Code hooks to create two different notification systems. One of them is going to be a voice notification system, such that whenever events happens within Claude Code, as it's executing various tasks, you get voice notifications to know when progress is heading on. But more importantly, you will know when a task is waiting for your input or has completed, which is extremely helpful when you are switching between tabs, or maybe you're checking out something else and leaving running in the background. The second system that we'll be doing is actually a push notification system, such that whenever events happen, you actually get event notifications onto your phone as well. And this again is extremely useful because if you're like me, sometimes I have my headphones out or my audio is not playing, but I definitely can see whenever notifications appear on my phone. So combined together, they cover both the visual as well as the audio way of notifying you as Claude Code gets through its tasks. Now, the main takeaway from today's system are two key things. Number one, you will be able to take this architecture to deeply understand how hooks work within Claude Code and then extend it for any other system that you have. Now, the second thing here that you will see is that I've actually extended the handling of hooks to have context-aware intelligence. So rather than saying this being read, it will be able to say, hey, a Python file is being read, or the Markdown file is being read. And it will also be able to handle different actions. So it knows whether it's running a git command versus doing a file read or performing some other action as well. This is extremely useful because you'll be able to get variations in the voice narration. But the other thing is that it provides you a much finer grained way for you to decide which things you're interested in and which things you're not interested in to be notified about. Now, before we get going, it's really important to get a high-level understanding of what Claude hooks are. Now, the Claude documentation is actually really good, and I would advise anybody who's working with Claude hooks to at least scan the first couple of sections within this to understand how things work. Now, the main thing to take away is that there are several main hook events that you can listen to, and these will tie into the actions that Claude are taking. So, for example, there's this thing called the pre-tool use event, and this fires off prior to Claude actually using a tool to perform an action. So, for example, if you use a pre-tool use event against a file edit or a file read, you will be able to capture this event and perform an action before the file edit or the file write is happening. So very useful use cases for this is that if you want to prevent writes or edits to particular files or particular folders, you'll be able to do it within there. And so just scrolling down, you will see there's a post tool use, which effectively is happening after the event has occurred. So you can do things like formatting, linting, or spell checking if you really want to. Now, rather than going through all of the events here today, I'm going to focus your attention on just two more, which is the notification event and the stop event. The stop event happens whenever Claude is done with a task. And the very useful use case here is that whenever it's done with a task, it sends you the notification saying it's done. The notification event is quite similar, but it provides you with a little bit more context over why Claude has paused in its flow. So for example, it needs a permission to run a certain command or to edit a certain file, and that's where notification events come through. So while you can definitely take a look through the other events that you handle, I always believe that the easiest way to understand these things is not by just perusing the documentation, but to actually get down and implementing something within code itself. I've simplified this in the easiest way possible. Whenever Claude performs an action, a hook event gets fired. So whenever Claude wants to perform an action, for example, editing a file, a hook event is fired. So in the case here, this will fire off before the edit is made. And the way that you handle these events is specified within a config file, which I'll show you very shortly. But once it matches the event, you get to specify what action to take. So in this case, I want to play a notification sound. And here's a very quick structure of how the configuration file looks. So you decide what event you want to listen for, what tool it matches, and then what command you want to run. But like I said, the easiest way to understand this is always by looking at actual examples. So let's actually take a look at what I have configured here today. So within my .claude folder, you will see that I have a settings.json file. Within the settings.json file, this is exactly where I specified how I want to handle my hooks. So you can see in my hook section here, I'm going to hook onto the stop events, the pre-tool use, and the notification events. All right. And within that, I have two handlers, one for voice notifications and one for push notifications. In the case of pre-tool use, I only want voice notifications for this because I don't want to be receiving push notifications for every single tool use that is happening within Claude Code. However, when Claude is done, so when it's stopped or when there's a need for user intervention, I actually want this to happen for both. Now, this is my personal preference. Obviously, if you want to receive push notifications for every single event that Claude is running, feel free to do so. All right. So that's the structure here. And the next thing to highlight here is that you can see that for each system, I have a single Python file that's handling everything to do with the hook. And it's the same Python file across the different hooks that we have here. Now, there's a lot of debate. I've seen people do things many different ways. You can have a specific handler for each of these hooks. So for example, a stop handler, a pre-tool use handler, or a notification handler. And you can even have specific handlers for specific hooks for specific matches. However, just looking through various different examples, tutorials, and my own experience, I found that having a single file for a single system is a lot simpler. And there's several reasons why that will become clear. But let me just demonstrate this to you a little bit more. Here's the architecture of our system today. Claude Code will be running, and then there will be several hook events that will be firing off every time Claude takes an action. I have two different handlers, one for the voice notifications and one for push notifications. And just with a single handler, it allows me to handle every single combination of events that comes through. You can see that the systems are actually very similar in structure. With a single Python file, there is a mapping JSON file, whether it maps the event to a sound to be played, notification to be sent. And then from there, it just provides the audio feedback or the notification that's required. So let's take a look at voice notifications first. So within my Claude folder, I go to hooks, and you can see I have push and voice notifications. I'm going to open up voice notifications, and you will see that I have a single handler.py file, as well as this sound mapping JSON. Pulling this up, you can see how this works. It maps the various different hook events, whether it's a stop, a notification, or pre-tool use against sound files to be played. And if there's more than one file that's specified here, it means that it will randomly switch between them. And this provides some nice variation so that you don't hear the same command happening every single time. And the other thing that we have here is that it maps not just to events, but to the tools that are being used. So for example, if it's editing something, it will map to code edit. If it's mapping to a grep tool, it will map to the search audio. And to take things a step further, if a read tool is happening on a particular file extension, it will provide an even more specific voice activation here. So for example, if it's reading a Python file, it will choose between this audio file or this audio file. And that's checking it by extension. However, there may be specific files like the README file that you want it to say something much more specific. And now you can do it by extension, by specific file names, which gives you even more flexibility to provide different voices for different files within your system. And if you actually jump back into the settings.json file here, you will see that the handler that I have also allows you to specify which voice that you want to use. And as the demonstration has shown, I actually have a folder that's inspired from Alfred from Batman, and I have all the files here that play back the audio in his voice. And subsequently, what you could do here is that you could then create a new folder and call it, say, maybe Jarvis from Iron Man, and then swap this out to Jarvis, and then you can put in all the audio that relates to Jarvis's voice over here, and then it will automatically switch for you. So hopefully this highlights why I've architected it in this way to use it. Just jumping back into this diagram over here, I've just shown you how this system works. And the other system that I'm going to show you here is actually the push notifications. I'm going to close off the voice notifications and open up push notifications, and you can see it's almost exactly the same. You have a single handler file and you have a single notification mapping file. And in this case, it's very similar, but instead of mapping to particular voices, it actually maps to the title of the notification as well as the message to send. So you can see very similar structure. You have the stop events, notification events, as well as the pre-tool use events. You have specific tools in which you want it to display different messages. You have contextual patterns based on the file operations that are happening, as well as the extensions or the file name. So very similar structure, yet lots of flexibility, and results in a very dynamic dual notification system that I've demonstrated here today. So at this stage, I'm hoping that you've understood what hooks are, how you can easily handle them with a single Python file to do quite creative and complex kind of behavior within Claude Code. Now, one very important thing to highlight about the Python file is that you may be wondering, how do I deal with external dependencies? For example, if I need to use the HTTPX library, or if I need to use some sound library. The way that we overcome this is by using something called UV. Jumping back into my settings.json file, you will see I'm not running things with Python followed by the script name. I'm actually using UV run followed by the script name. And this is a great time to show you what UV is. UV is a Python package which is extremely fast, but the most important thing, it allows you to execute scripts within an isolated environment in one shot. And the way that you do so is not by using a requirements.txt file or a pyproject.2ml file. Instead, you actually specify everything within the Python file itself. So let me show you how this works. So if I go to my handler for push notifications, you can see at the top of the file specifies the Python version that is required, which is 3.13, as well as the HTTPX dependency. And so when you run UV against this file, it will actually spin up a virtual environment that contains this dependency with this version of Python before executing the file. So you don't have to worry about whether you have the dependencies running on your local machine or whether you have the right Python, because this is all handled automatically for you. So jumping back into the voice notifications one, you can see the same thing. If I go to handler, you can see that I specify 3.13 and the dependencies here is Pygame. Now you might be wondering, why am I specifying a full-fledged Python game library here? The reason is very simple. I was trying to get sound to play across various different machines, Windows, Linux, as well as Mac. And there's lots of ways to actually use native capabilities within each of these operating systems to play sound. However, I just could not get it to work reliably when I was switching between Windows, WSL, as well as Mac. So I decided to ask Claude, and Claude came up with using Pygame, which has an audio library within it. I'm pretty sure we can actually swap this out with a pure audio playing library, but for expediency, and it kind of just worked for me, so I just put it in this way. But if you know an alternative Python library that will allow me to play audio easily, let me know, and we should probably swap this out as well. All right, so the next thing to mention here is, how am I handling push notifications? I'm using something called notify.sh. It's honestly so simple and so powerful to get going. However, people who are new to it might get a little bit confused about what's going on. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to explain what's going on here. Now, the first thing to know about Notify is that you effectively just send messages against a topic name, and then you can choose to subscribe to that topic name. And if you subscribe to that topic name on your device, you will receive that exact message. And the default behavior for Notify is public. So jumping into settings.json, you can see here that for my push notifications, I am subscribing to this specific topic over here. So if I copy this and just place it at the end of it, you can see it's actually showing me all the notifications that have been sent from Claude Code. Now, the thing to realize is that all of this is public. So the reason why I've added a random hash behind it is just reduces the chance of somebody stumbling across it, especially when I'm testing. For example, if you go to something like Claude Code notifications over here, you can actually see events being published by other people who are using the exact same endpoint. So if you use something as generic as Claude Code notifications over here, you will find that there are other people who may be publishing to this exact same notification topic. So if you start subscribing to these notifications on your phone or your computer, you're going to start getting these alerts as well. So that's the reason why I added a random hash behind it, and there's very little chance that somebody will publish to it, and it's just great for testing. So if you actually look at the code here in the send push notification function, all it does is just takes in the topic and title, the topic that we pass in, the title and message, and then it sends it to the server. And there's other things that you can set, such as tags and priority. But by default, we just set some defaults here. And all it does is that it just sends the notification with the correct headers using the HTTPS client library. And that's pretty much it. And on the phone, you just have to download the app, add what topic you want to subscribe to. In this case, I'm going to use the same one that I specified over here. And once you add it in, you're going to continue to get push notifications related to that. So basically, that's the entire system over here. It's actually very straightforward, but yet extremely powerful. Here's just an additional diagram to help to solidify the concept over here. We get a hook event. Our system is able to check the tool type and then do a secondary filter to provide more context around what is happening. And from there, it will either check what variation to use or what push notification to send. Now, like I said, the main thing around here is just understanding the concept of hooks and how you can handle them. And you can just take this system that we have over here and integrate it within your workflow to do other creative and fun stuff. So that's it for this demonstration and this tutorial. I didn't go into the code specifics this time because it's not as interesting as understanding the high-level concepts related to hooks and how you can handle them. I made this entire project available, including the settings configuration, as well as the 2 different voice and push notification system handlers, as well as all the audio files available. I've also included the entire lesson plan with all the diagrams that you've seen here today. You can get hold of everything by clicking the link to the builder pack in the description below. The builder pack actually contains all the code, scripts, and configuration files for my previous 3 episodes as well. You can also access a version of this for free as part of my AI-oriented Insiders Club, and the link is also in the description below. Alright, I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Do let me know in the comments what you think. If you haven't checked out this other video about how you can use Claude Code, combine it with any model and provider out there for reduced costs and blazing fast speeds, you definitely don't want to miss that one. Don't forget to give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so that you'll always be the first to know whenever content drops. I really hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you next time.